Hello students, welcome you to my MOOCs classroom on resource geography. Today we are going to learn about what is resource, how do they exist, and what are the factors that are responsible to create resource. At first, we have to know the definition of resource. Etymologically, the word resource is derived from the French word ressource, related to source. The prefix re suggests resurgence, dependability through time. The word origin dates back to 1610. The term resource has many dimensions in many domains, including economics, statistics, ecology, biology, computer science, and geography. Everything that is available in nature are called neutral stuff, but those substances which are capable to satisfy human wants are termed as resource. According to Walter Zimmerman, a resource economist, resources are expression or reflection of human appraisal. These are the basis of culture. Resources can be objective as well as subjective. Evidently, there are subjective or internal resources and objective or external resources. The subjective resources again play dual role, the positive one taking advantage or opportunity, while the negative one of extricating the individual from difficulties or overcoming obstacles or resistances. Thus, the word resource does not refer to a thing or substance, but to a function that a thing or substance may perform satisfying a want. In other words, the word resource is an abstraction reflecting human appraisal and relating to a function or operation. Zimmerman defined resource on the basis of functional ability. Function is something that makes anything which is resource to us. Everything that has a function is resource. He rejected the assumption of fixity, that are fixed. Rather, Zimmerman suggested only human appraisal turns the neutral stuff into resources. When human value to a particular thing, only then it turns to become resource. Otherwise, it's simply a neutral stuff. So, what are the resources today may not be tomorrow and vice versa. Resources are two basic properties, utility and functional ability, relating to man. A land may have utility, but it is not resource until and unless it is used for satisfying some human wants like crop cultivation, animal rearing, settlement building, or any other human and economic activities. Today, smartphone is important resource to us. We do lot of things with the help of smartphone. We can call a friend or relatives, check the location and route, getting weather update, play games, attend courses like UGC MOOCs, shopping, and so on. In day-to-day life, a common man often uses the term resources and wealth for the same purpose and meaning. Is resource and wealth are same? No. In economics and resource study, these two words, resource and wealth, have separate meanings. Wealth, as stated by noted economist Keynes, wealth consists of potentially exchangeable means of satisfying human wants. So, wealth must possess four characters: utility, functional ability, scarcity, and transferability. Wealth is always measurement. We can quantify them in terms of measuring parameter like rupees. In this manner, culture cannot be considered as wealth because it is not expressed by any measuring unit. On the other hand, resource may be tangible or intangible in nature. Anything satisfying human wants are called resource, be it tangible or intangible. Wealth is more synonymous with valuables. That is, it should be scarce, while resources may be ubiquitous or abundant, like sunlight, water, air. Therefore, it can be said that all wealths are resource, but all resources are not wealth. Resource incorporates much more than wealth in a sense that culture, technology, innovative power, skill, and different other aspects are included in realm of resource. A resource can be a physical thing, a non-physical thing, information about physical thing, information about non-physical thing, or anything we want to organize. The shift from a manufacturing to an information and service-based economy in the past 2 decades has resulted in greater emphasis on intellectual resources represents in skill and knowledge rather than on natural resources on production material and physical goods. Resources which have no practical ability or utility on the basis of present technical knowledge is called neutral stuff. Monazite sands of Kerala beach was not a resource until its radioactive properties were discovered. Prior to independence, Damodar River was considered as sorrow of Bengal because of its flood propensity, but after independence, the river has been dammed, that is Damodar Valley Corporation or DVC, to harness its resource potentiality. Thus, the water of Damodar River is now become a resource to us. The three things, time, knowledge and technology, convert a neutral stuff into a useful thing or resource. Theory of resource is in strict harmony with the functional and operational meaning of the word contained in the definition. Without functional capacity, a thing or substance is a neutral stuff. The process which comes in the way of effective utilization of resources is called resistance. The next point of our discussion is how do the resources exist? Resources are not, they become. The physical environment or nature is essentially a neutral stuff, and it is the human culture which determines which element should be considered as resource or as resistance. Man's own wisdom is the key resource that unlocks the universe. A prehistoric man did not know about underground minerals like coal or iron ore, but modern people do miracle with these, and it considered as resource. Similarly, the rubber of Amazon region were utilized by people till the discovery of vulcanized rubber. After this discovery, a great demand through the world made wild Amazon turns into an important resource. To create resource, some other factors are also required like capital, technological skill, labor, market, government policy. Here we can take the example of Brazilian rubber again for another aspect. Amazon region could not satisfy or meet the demand for vulcanized rubber. So, rubber plantation started in other areas like Malaysia, Indonesia, Ceylon, India, and other countries, and thus the demand for Brazilian rubber is getting fall. All these examples prove that resources are not static or fixed. It is the man's own creation. It depends on utility. They are created by human beings through his knowledge, skill, and technology. Resource is a result of dynamic interaction between nature, man, and culture. To understand resource, one must comprehend the relationship that exists between man and nature. For this, it is necessary to conceive man at two levels, that is, man on animal level and man on supraanimal level. Man on animal level is denoted as MAN, all are in small, while man on supraanimal level or social level is denoted by MAN, all these are capital. Man on animal level constitute the part of nature, that is, man on this level was existing without the benefit of culture, while man on supra-animal level represents the counterpart of nature. Human needs are of two types, basic and cultural. Basic needs include food, cloth, and shelter. But human demand is not limited to mere fulfillment of these basic needs. Rather, they demand more and more improvement in basic needs. It is quite natural that man is always trying to improve the quality of living. This has resulted into resource development through technology and scientific advancement. The development of human resource now has become a key to progress. Nature is non-man. It is cosmos insofar as it is unaffected by capital man, that is, man with the benefit of culture. The sum of total changes brought by man, that is capital man, is here called culture. Those aspects of nature which man can utilize in the satisfaction of his creature wants, that is, without the contribution of culture, may be called natural resources. Those aspects of nature which harm or hinder may be called natural resistance. The extent of want satisfaction is a function of both resource and resistance, not the resource alone. Thus, man has only needs and natural capacities, and therefore the human race commands over natural resources and is exposed to natural resistances. Culture has the dual function of enlarging resources and reducing resistances. As resource creation is a function of time, hence it can be said that resources are dynamic in nature. It is technology which gives value to the neutral which it possesses and convert them to resources. Time and technology are two important factors which changes a substance into resource. For example, petroleum was not resource before people learned how to use it. Now we move to the factors that are responsible to create a resource. To get an idea about how these resources come into exist, one must understand the interaction between the nature, man, and culture. Another two concepts associated with resource creations are resistance and neutral stuff. There is total antagonistic relationship between resource and resistance. Fertility of soil is definitely a resource, but barrenness is resistance. Knowledge is a key resource today, but ignorance is the worst type of resistance. Anything that restricts substance becoming resource is called neutral stuff. According to Zimmerman, any substance, be it tangible or intangible, should be either resource or neutral stuff. If any substance does not contain functional ability and utility value, then it is termed as neutral stuff. Thus, the bulk of man's resource are the result of human ingenuity aided by slowly and patiently acquired skills, knowledge, and experiences. Coal occurs in nature but not coke. All the elements are found in nature, but this is of no value to man who is not even aware of its existence and even less capable of isolating and utilizing them. The difference between Neolithic man who roamed the earth in misery and fear and the man today who lives in relatively comfort and security is only knowledge. Knowledge of petroleum and natural gas, knowledge of physics and chemistry, the countless of wonders of modern science and marvelous apparatus of cultural improvement has devised and built for applications. Seeing in this light, the concept of resource is purely functional, inseparable from wants and human capabilities. A neutral stuff should not necessarily remain neutral forever. What is considered neutral stuff today may transform into resources tomorrow. Man's knowledge, wisdom, and fundamentally it is technology which gives value to the neutral stuff which it possesses and may transform neutral stuff into valuable resource. Petroleum was not considered a resource until 1859 because man was totally ignorant about its uses. But with the development of science and technology, it is now considered as mainstay of harnessing energy. It is established that man without culture is really helpless. Culture embraces human intelligence, innovative power, and creativity. Applications, therefore, in the form of tool, technology, transport, economic, and social organization. Progress in culture is prerequisite for resource creation to meet the demand of modern day people. Let us briefly discuss about the functional theory of resources. There are three aspects. 1. Resources are functional and operational. Number 2. Resources are of human creation. And number 3. Resources are dynamic in nature. Now I explain these. The first one is resources are functional and operational. Resources are satisfying human wants and therefore beneficial for human beings. The sunlight, essential for human growth, the air we breathe, the land, all these have been operational ever since the origin of the earth. Coal remained as neutral stuff until human being is able to discover its utility and began utilizing it. It then turned into a resource. Similarly, all the minerals which are using extensively today were mostly existed as neutral stuff before the Industrial Revolution. Prior to Industrial Revolution, human beings had very limited or little knowledge about these minerals, particularly since the beginning of Chalcolithic period when human beings discovered and developed copper as a resource for making tools and implements. Similarly, many non-physical or cultural elements like technical skills, education, economic policy, planning, which are operational, become resources. Number two concept is that resources are of human creation. We know resources are not, they become. This means natural elements become resource only when they attain capacity to satisfy human wants. For example, the rivers possesses the potential for generating hydropower ever since the beginning, but they become resources only when human beings developed their potential by using technical know-how. Minerals, fertile land, forest, animals, all are existent on the earth millions of years, but they become resource only when human beings started using them for their own benefits using knowledge and skills. That is why we say resources are of human creations. And number three concept, resources are dynamic. Resources are not static. The resources have been existing on the earth's surface as simply neutral stuff. These neutral stuffs have changed into resource by human knowledge, efforts and skills. Thus, human being able to expand the stock of resources. For example, human being developed coal as a resource for fuel, coke, tar, nylon and so on. That means one thing have multiple uses. Similarly, rivers were used for navigation, irrigation, hydropower generation and so on. All these are resources. Now it is common into mind that what were the driving force behind converting neutral stuff into resources? Human wants and skills are the driving force of converting neutral stuff into usable resources. Expansion of arable land down the ages is an example of human beings' ingenuity, efforts, and skills in utilizing so-called fixed assets or resource. Mineral deposits have exhausted due to continuous use, and wastelands have been growing because of overuse or misuse. Indiscriminating felling of trees for infrastructure growth and urbanization leads to the deforestation. A contraction in resource results in expansion of resistances. Wastelands, unproductive soils, destructing floods, epidemics are the various resistance that are on increase. Thus, resources are dynamic, either expanding or contracting. The functional theory of resource has some salient features. Number one, regional specialties. Depending on regional differentiation of natural bases, the process of resource creation may hold certain regional identities. Number two, perenniality. Human want never ends. By improving knowledge, skill and technology, men are trying to recycle the resources. Number three, increasing efficiency of elements, improving quality and life by technological upgradation not only increases the functionality of a resource but also help in conservation of raw materials. Number 4. Rapid and wide-ranging resource activities. For meeting the demand of a rapidly growing population over the globe, creation of resource has become necessary. In this direction, countries are chalking out plans for more and more resource mobilization and at the same time aiming at conservation for future, which is called sustainable development. And number 5, spatio-temporal dimension. Space and time are two important factors identifying resource dynamicity. All human activities that are directly or indirectly influenced by cultural practice, which varies from one place to another. The same size of rice land in Japan is producing more the production of crops than in India. From the same amount of raw materials, India is now producing almost double the amount of steel iron than it is produced in 1950s. In the first example, that is the example of rice production, it is spatial dimension, and for steel, it is temporal dimension. But all depend on technology upgradation, that is involvement of improved culture. Culture is not static and neither it is confined to a particular place. The economic development of a region is greatly influenced by its culture. Niagara Falls in North America is a resource as it generates hydroelectricity power which was used to run the mills in New England regions, while the Stanley Fern upon the Congo River in Africa may not be considered as a resource because of its prevailing socio-economic scenario in Africa. It is understood that in nature, resource is not a gifted item. It has to be created. It is available in nature as neutral stuff, only with resource potentials. It is human beings with their rationality, wisdom, need, and skill convert the neutral stuff into resources. Human labor, skill, as well as intelligence, tools, and techniques required to be applied to make a thing into resource. Most of the nature's gifts are really human made. The resources such as minerals, land, water are created by nature, but these substances become useful only after the strenuous efforts of human being. Therefore, natural substance combined with functional ability is resource, but natural substance without functional ability cannot be considered as resource. Tangible substances with functional ability is definitely a resource, but tangible substance minus functional ability is not resource. Similarly, intangible substances with functional abilities resource, but intangible substances minus functional abilities is non-resource. Now the question is why the development of resource is so important. There are some issues or problems for which development of resource is absolutely necessary. It is said that resources are limited and human ones are unlimited. The growing need of humans has played an important role in the cognitive development that in long run has given rise to the development in technologies which are applied for survival. Resources are depleted by satisfying the need of ever-increasing population. Moreover, not all the people get equal access to resources. Disparities in societies emerged. Our society is divided into two, haves and have-nots. Those who are rich have enough resources while the poor are not having the resources. Due to indiscriminate use of resources, the global ecological crisis like pollution, global warming are seen through decades. This indicates the necessity of development of resource in a proper way.